Hey everyone, I just wanted to come on here and talk about Romans chapter 14 and 1 Corinthians chapter 2. There was some points that I've been reading over the last couple of days that I think need to be addressed and that have really been affecting Christians. And so I'm going to read y'all a few verses in Romans chapter 14 and then talk about those. So Romans chapter 14, receive one who is weak in the faith, but not to disputes over doubtful things. For one believes he may eat all things, but he who is weak eats only vegetables. Let not him who eats despise him who does not eat, and let him who does not eat judge him who eats, for God has received him. Who are you to judge another servant? To his own master he stands or falls. Indeed, he will be made to stand, for God is able to make him stand. So what that is talking about is not arguing over things that don't matter. Obviously, we don't need to just argue and go on and on with people, but if it concerns something with false doctrine or sin, yes, it's important to have a reasonable, healthy debate and correct that person. But we shouldn't be going on and going back and forth with people, whether Christians or unbelievers, about things that don't matter, such as some people think that only women should only wear dresses, not pants in the church, or you shouldn't get a tattoo. Now, the thing with that, I'm not going to go into a whole rant about that. I think that as long as it's nothing that, doesn't go against God or isn't immoral, I don't think nothing's wrong with that. I mean, some people are personally convicted not to get one, but things like that, or, you shouldn't, the Jewish people back in the day, today they make kosher meat more for Jewish people, and they say some people think you shouldn't eat certain meat, and just stuff like that. Things that don't matter, that are not a heaven or hell issue. And so there's a lot more important things going on. There's a lot of people who are lost who don't know about God. There's a lot of people falling into the delusions of false doctrine, or like I was referring to yesterday, that believe you're good as long as you say the sinner's prayer and then you can just live however you want. There's a lot of babies being aborted. There's children who are being taken to these nightclubs to give tips to drag queens, and the devil's coming hard after the children. And there's just a lot more important things that need to be addressed, so we don't need to be going back and forth in the comments section of Facebook over things that don't even matter, that are not heaven or hell issues. Or, for example, some people believe that the rapture will be before the tribulation, or some people believe it's after. And I mean, either way, it doesn't matter. There's a lot more important things to address. There's a lot of unsaved people who will be going to hell. There's babies being aborted, like I said. So, Paul's telling people not to argue and try to condemn people for things that don't even matter. Or, I'm going to read another verse. One person esteems one day above another, another esteems every day alike. Let each be fully convinced in his own mind. He who observes the day observes it to the Lord, and he who does not observe the day to the Lord, he does not observe it. He who eats, eats to the Lord, for he gives God thanks, and he who does not eat to the Lord, he does not eat and gives God thanks. So some people would have church on a Wednesday, some people on a Sunday. It doesn't matter. It's just saying, whatever you do it for the glory of God. I mean, some people think you should have church on some Sunday, and some people think that should be a different day of the week. Those are little minute details that don't even matter. And I'm preaching to myself too, because I'm guilty of going back and forth with people on social media. And there's nothing wrong with having a healthy debate and correcting people, but when it gets to the point, like it does for me, which is why I won't argue with people on social media anymore, I don't even bother to comment back, because I just know that I'm not doing anything for God in doing that. There's a lot more important stuff that I could be doing. And for me personally, just a personal conviction here, when I tend to go back and forth with people, I don't do it for the right reasons, and I don't catch myself in time often. I tend to do it, to be honest with you, to prove a point, to prove that I'm right, and my head does begin to swell up, and it leads to self-righteousness. And I tend to get, I don't mean for it to go that far, but I tend to get to where I think I'm better than other people. So I just, personal conviction, I don't argue with people back and forth on Facebook, especially about things that are not important, that are not heaven and hell issues, when there's a lot of people I could be helping and telling about God, and a lot of stuff I can be doing for God rather than arguing with people on social media. So I see a lot of people going back and forth over things that don't matter and condemning people with their YouTube channels. And you could take that, instead of wasting that time like calling people out on YouTube and making insult reaction videos to them, you could be using that time, who knows, in that time period how many people you could have led to God, or, you know, been out spreading the gospel. So just something to think about, and I'm talking to myself as well. So now I'm going to go to 1 Corinthians chapter 2. And I'm going to read y'all a few verses in that and then talk about those. So 1 Corinthians chapter 2, and I, brethren, when I came to you, did not come with excellence of speech or of wisdom, declaring to you the testimony of God. For I determined not to know anything among you except Jesus Christ and him crucified. I was with you in weakness, in fear, and in much trembling. And my speech and my preaching were not with persuasive words of human wisdom, but in demonstration of the Spirit and of power, that your faith should not be in the wisdom of men, but in the power of God. So, and I'm guilty of this too, but we tend to think that people, like, we tend to think that only people who are eloquent speakers or can phrase things in the best way should be preachers or spread the gospel or talk to people about God or teach people about the Bible. And that's not true. And obviously all the good things that we do, and when we talk to other people about God, that's not just based on our own talent or merit. I mean, we need the Holy Spirit to do that. We need God's help. Anything good that we do, anything that we do at all for him, we do through his help, through his strength. And Paul is trying to say, you know, he's not the best speaker, maybe, or is not the smartest person in the world. But you don't need those things to tell others about God. You just need to go and tell them about God. You don't have to be some eloquent speaker. I mean, for example, take Moses. He stuttered and had flaws in his speaking abilities and his speech. And I do too, obviously. Y'all have heard me speak. I stutter and say and sound nervous. And, you know, at the end, he's also saying that people shouldn't come to God because you're a good speaker, can phrase things a certain way, or that you're really smart and have all this biblical knowledge, but they should come to know God because they have faith in him, because they truly want to have a relationship with him, and because God leads them to him to have a relationship with him. Not because someone has so much intelligence or knowledge. And I'm not talking about spiritual knowledge. I'm talking about like worldly knowledge, worldly wisdom, can speak with a worldly talent. They should come to know God because he led those people to him, and through the faith in Jesus Christ and what he did on the cross for us, and through the power of God leading them into relationship with him. And, you know, we tend to often think only the preacher or certain people in higher positions can do these things, or lead others to God, or talk to others about God, and I'm not going to get into a big rant, or, you know, do deliverance, or heal the sick, or do anything that the disciples did. The disciples weren't eloquent speakers. They were just normal, regular old people that did things like Jesus did through the power of God, healing people and signs and wonders, and they did that through the power of Jesus. Now, we can only do those things through the power of Jesus, but not just certain people in higher statuses or church positions can do those things. And, you know, I believe that for a long time, that only the preacher could do this, or only certain people in these certain positions in the church could do that. And I've had to break a lot of that thinking. And like I said, even people in like higher positions in the church can only do those things through the power of God, just as we can. So I want y'all to not believe that lie anymore, that you can't do anything for God, that you can't do what the disciples did in the Bible, because you can. I mean, for a long time, I wouldn't get on here and talk to people because I'm like, oh, I'm not a preacher or a higher up of status teacher or anything like that. So I hope that cleared some things up for y'all, and y'all got a lot out of it, and I hope I made sense. Well, if y'all have any prayer requests, just drop them in the comments. And if y'all have any constructive criticism or correction, place it in the comments. I'm always open. I'm still learning. And I hope y'all have a good rest of the day, and God bless you.